You ever have a day where the world just decides to test what you're made of? I mean, really put you on display, strip you down to your core in front of a whole crowd of strangers, just to see if you'll break. That was me, on a cold morning in Chicago, the day I found out what I was really made of. You know what I mean? You spend your whole life moving out of people's way, trying not to cause a scene, and then, one day, the scene finds you. Let me back up a sec. My name's Clara Johnson, though that didn't mean much to anyone at O'Hare Airport that morning. I was just another middle-aged woman with a battered Bible and a cardigan that had seen better days, moving through a river of suits and stilettos toward the first-class gate. Yeah, first class, my son had insisted. Said it was my turn to ride up front. I'd always been more of a row 32, by the bathroom kind of person, but he bought the ticket, so I took the seat. People noticed, too. You can feel it when you're the one that doesn't fit. Glances that bounce off you like pebbles. Whispers that aren't as quiet as folks think. That's the thing about first class. Everyone's supposed to look like they belong. And there I was, with my worn slacks and my silver bracelet from my late husband, clutching my ticket like it was a life raft. I'll tell you, when I settled into seat 3A, I felt two things. At once, pride and dread. Pride, because my son, David, made it. He's CEO of the very airline we were flying. Dread, because I could see the wheels turning in that flight crew's heads the second I sat down. Margaret, the lead attendant, icy, blonde, not a wrinkle in her uniform or her smile, gave me the look. You know the one. Brian, the younger attendant, leaned in and whispered, "Are you sure she's supposed to be here?" And Sophie, the new girl, stood there like she wanted to say something but didn't. They asked for my ticket. Twice. My ID. 3 times. All while everyone else got hot towels and champagne. Me? They brought me a cold sandwich, wrapped in plastic, while the rest of first class ate salmon. And I could feel it, that prickle under your skin when you're being tested, when people are waiting to see if you'll shrink or stand up. And I'll be honest, my hand trembled, but my voice didn't. "This is my seat," I told Brian, meeting his eyes. "My son bought it for me, because he believes I belong here." The words hung there, heavy, but you could hear Margaret snapping her pen against the clipboard, see the passengers shifting in their seats, their eyes fixed. Anywhere but me. Silence is funny. It's heavy. Sometimes it hurts worse than words. Sophie, bless her, tried to slip me a glass of water with a quiet, "I'm sorry." But Margaret saw and yanked her back. No one stood up. No one said a word. The cabin became a cage, and every minute felt like a dare. Would I back down? Would I let them move me? "We need to make sure all our premium guests are comfortable," Margaret said, just loud enough for everyone to hear. I said, "I'm comfortable. Are you?" The tension broke for a second. A businessman across the aisle coughed, looked at me, and then back at his phone. But not one person spoke up. You ever wonder what kind of person you are when it's time to stand up? I did my whole life. Turns out, I'm the kind that plants her feet and refuses to move. That's when they threatened to have security meet me at landing, escort me off the plane. Imagine the shame of that. Escorted like a criminal from the seat your own son, the CEO, paid for. But I stayed put. "This is my seat," I said again, softer this time, but unbreakable. "I will not move." And you could hear the hush fall over the whole cabin, passengers craning to see how this would end, nobody daring to do anything except watch. When the plane touched down, Margaret's voice was sharp as glass. "Ma'am, please collect your belongings." Brian hovered behind her. Smirk gone, just waiting to see if I'd cry. But I stood up, slow and steady, my dignity wrapped around me like armor. I looked at the faces turned toward me, some ashamed, some just curious. And I said, "Remember this moment. Remember the silence." Then I walked through the curtain into economy. My hands shook, but my head was high. In the terminal, I sat on a bench and stared at the bracelet on my wrist, my husband's voice in my head. Dignity isn't given. It's lived. My phone buzzed. David, checking in. "How was the flight, Mom?" I could have lied. Said I landed safe and left it at that. But something cracked inside me. I texted, "I need to tell you something important." When David called, I told him everything. I heard the storm building in his voice, anger and shame, twisted together. He wanted to fire the whole crew on the spot, but I told him, "This isn't about revenge. If you want to fix something, fix the system." Don't just protect me. Protect everyone. He listened. He really did. And I think that's when the story grew larger than just me. You know how it is. A small injustice can stay hidden, but when you drag it into the light, it forces everyone to look. David called an emergency board meeting that night. He laid it all out. What happened to me? What had happened to dozens of other passengers whose complaints were buried as? Tense room, I walked in. My son introduced me as the woman whose strength built everything he stood for, and whose dignity had been dragged through the aisles by his own employees. I didn't go in angry. I went in honest. You can fire the crew, I said. But unless you change the culture that allowed them to treat me that way, nothing will change. That's when things shifted. Margaret, Brian, and Sophie, the whole crew, were brought in to hear it, too. David looked each of them in the eye and said, "You're not fired. Not yet. You'll spend the next 3 months working economy." Troublemaker. Others said I was only getting attention because my son was CEO. But most people, they got it. They'd been there. Maybe not in first class, maybe just in a grocery store or at a hotel counter, but they knew what it felt like to be told, "You don't belong." In the weeks that followed, David launched real reforms, mandatory bias training, a new council for passenger advocacy, policies with teeth. Other airlines followed suit, some just to keep up, some because they realized they'd been wrong for a long time. Margaret changed, little by little, facing her own shame and trying to do better. Sophie became an advocate for speaking up, telling new hires, "Don't let fear make you silent." Brian? Well, Brian just got bitter and eventually washed out, shouting about cancel culture to whoever would listen. The world moved on. Me? I never wanted to be a symbol. I just wanted a seat. But when the spotlight found me, I tried to do right by all the folks who never got their moment at the mic. I spoke at summits, read letters from strangers, comforted people who wept when they told me, "You gave me back my courage." I didn't heal overnight. Some nights. Voice matters. That's when I know none of it was wasted. We set up a permanent office for passenger rights at O'Hare, right where my story began. I cut the ribbon myself, and I looked out at that terminal and said, "This was once the setting for my humiliation. Now it's the setting for our healing." So, what do I want you to take from all this? Don't let anyone tell you where you belong. Don't let silence speak for you. Change doesn't come in leaps, it comes in steps. If you see someone being treated as less, don't just sit there. Stand up. Use your voice, even if it shakes. You see, respect isn't a privilege, it's a right. And when you stand for it, you give other people the courage to do the same. If my story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, comment, tell me what you'd do if you saw someone in my shoes. That's how change keeps moving. That's how the ripples become a wave.